The coffee shop was loud in the way only mornings can be. Cups clinked, machines hissed, and impatient sighs floated through the air. In the middle of it all, a woman stood frozen at the counter, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to speak words the barista couldn't understand. People behind her shifted and groaned. No one noticed the quiet panic in her eyes, until one small act of kindness changed everything. What happened next wasn't loud or dramatic. There were no speeches, no applause. Just a few simple movements of the hands. But those movements lit up a smile so bright, it reminded everyone watching that kindness doesn't need a voice to be heard. Before the story begins, if you enjoy real-life stories that remind us of humanity, take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is Kindness World, where small acts make a big difference. It was a regular Tuesday morning in a small American town. The kind of morning where everyone was rushing somewhere important. Emma walked into the coffee shop hoping for something warm to steady her nerves. She was deaf, and although she had lived with it her entire life, moments like this still felt heavy. Ordering coffee should have been simple. She pointed at the menu, tried to mouth the words, and used the gestures she had practiced so many times. But the young barista frowned, unsure what she meant. He leaned forward, speaking louder, as if volume could somehow bridge the gap. Emma shook her head gently and signed that she couldn't hear. The line grew restless. Someone checked their watch. Another person sighed loudly. Emma felt her cheeks burn. She hated being the reason people were annoyed. She hated feeling invisible and exposed at the same time. Her hands lowered slowly, and for a moment, she considered stepping aside without ordering anything. That's when a small voice tugged at someone's sleeve behind her. "Daddy, she's sad," the little girl whispered. The man behind Emma was a single dad named Daniel. He had one hand holding his daughter's backpack and the other balancing a diaper bag that had seen better days. His life was busy, loud, and exhausting, but he had learned to notice quiet things. Daniel knelt down and whispered back, "She's having trouble ordering. Remember what we do when someone needs help?" The little girl nodded seriously. Daniel stood up and gently stepped forward, careful not to startle Emma. He caught her eye and raised his hands slowly. Then, with practiced ease, he signed a simple sentence, "Can I help you?" Emma froze. For a split second, she wondered if she was imagining it. Then her eyes widened, and her lips parted in surprise. She signed back quickly, relief flooding her face, "Yes. Thank you." The noise of the coffee shop faded into the background as they signed back and forth. Daniel asked what she wanted. Emma explained, apologizing for the trouble. Daniel smiled and signed, "You're not a problem." Those words hit her harder than he could have known. Daniel turned to the barista and calmly relayed the order. The barista's face softened with understanding, embarrassment flickering across his expression. He nodded and got to work without another word. When Daniel turned back, Emma was smiling, really smiling. Her eyes shone, and she laughed silently, a soundless joy that somehow felt louder than anything else in the room. "Thank you," she signed again. "You didn't have to do that." Daniel shrugged lightly. "My sister is deaf," he signed. "She taught me. She also taught me that kindness matters." Emma nodded, swallowing emotion. "It does. More than people know." As they waited for their drinks, Daniel's daughter tugged on Emma's coat. She pointed to her own hands and attempted a clumsy sign she had learned. "Hello," the little girl signed, beaming. Emma laughed again, tears welling in her eyes this time. She signed back slowly so the child could follow. "Hello." The barista called out the order, unaware that something far more important than coffee had just been exchanged. When Emma took her cup, she hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. She scribbled a quick note and handed it to Daniel. "Today was hard," it read. "You made it easy. I won't forget this." Daniel smiled, a little embarrassed, and shook his head. "I just did what anyone should." But Emma knew the truth. Not everyone notices. Not everyone steps forward. As she left the shop, her shoulders felt lighter. The world hadn't changed, but her place in it felt warmer. Daniel watched her go, then felt his daughter squeeze his hand. "Daddy," she said, "I want to help people like that." Daniel knelt and hugged her tight. "You already are." The rest of the morning carried on like normal. People rushed out with their coffee, the machines kept hissing, and the line moved on. Most of them would forget the moment entirely, but Emma carried it with her all day, and Daniel's daughter carried it too, learning without realizing it that kindness isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose. Sometimes kindness looks like money or grand gestures. But sometimes it's just knowing a language someone else needs. Sometimes it's seeing someone struggle and deciding they matter. That day, in a noisy coffee shop, a woman who felt invisible was seen. A single dad passed on a lesson. And a child learned that the smallest actions can light up someone's world. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you that kindness doesn't need words. It only needs awareness, courage, and a willing heart. And when we choose kindness, even in the smallest moments, we change more than we ever realize.